Today we've got Marguerite from Greeff Attorneys. Marguerite, thank you so very much for taking the time to join us, and we appreciate it. So Marguerite, can I ask you to just give us a quick introduction to yourself and to your business?
Yes, sure. Thanks, Charmel. I appreciate the time and the opportunity to talk to you. Right, so my name is Marguerite Greeff. I am a qualified attorney, notary and conveyancer. I am the managing director of Greeff Attorneys. We are an all-female, women-run law firm. And we serve clients across South Africa and internationally when it comes to their South African interests. So it's from individuals to entrepreneurs, small, medium enterprises, corporates across the board. We specialize basically in a couple of areas of the law. One is corporate and commercial law. Then the next one is estate planning, and then conveyancing. But all of them tie together, and we offer a niche service to entrepreneurs where it's basically a startup package and help them navigate through those difficult times in the beginning where you're not sure what tomorrow might bring, but we would like to manage their risk and ensure that compliance is in order, and so forth.
Thank you for that introduction. Marguerite, so in terms of Greeff Attorneys, what is the most requested service that you receive, and that as someone with a legal background, that if entrepreneurs just thought about this a little bit earlier, then it would have saved them so much distress?
So oftentimes, it's comes down to that business plan that everyone should have. And so it's something that you should be reviewing on a regular basis. One of the main things that people sometimes forget is to consider the correct structure for your business. So people will just start with something and decide they're going to run it as a sole prop. But then a couple of months later that they realized that they should have rather considered either putting it into a legal structure such as a company or a business trust, or just considering the pros and cons for each of those structures. So I would say that is the first thing that I normally see people coming to us to and asking, what is the correct structure? I'm running this business. Is it possible to switch it to a company? How do I do that? And then I would say that the second part of it is when people want to expand their business. So they've perhaps started a new something new in the last few months, and they now either realize that they need investment to grow it, or they've got a partner that they want to bring on, and now they need to know how to structure it further, how to expand without, giving up too much, or still protecting yourself, things like that. And that's where things like your sale of shares agreements would come in, your shareholders agreements, to make sure that your memorandum of incorporation, if you've got a company, is correctly structured. And then the next thing with that comes with expansion is normally to employ people. So you would find sometimes that people don't have the correct employment agreements in place, and something goes wrong, and the next moment you're in the CCMA, and your risk is not properly managed. There are three more things that I often see. The protection of intellectual property. And so you've got this idea, and it's an awesome idea, and we've seen it quite a couple of times in the news, and where you've got an entrepreneur and you'll have the larger corporates and you have the same idea, and then all of a sudden your IP is not protected, or it's just about how do you go about protecting your ideas. And I mean, there are different ways to do that. You've got trademarks, you've got patents. When you discuss ideas with suppliers, you should be signing non-disclosure agreements with them. Have restraints of trade in place with employees and partners that you have in the business. And then the next area that's very relevant at the moment is your POPI and PIA, and that's where the protection of information comes in. So we've got a lot of queries currently for that, where people want to know how do they become compliant with those acts. And yeah, so those are the main things that I see on a daily basis. And it's a lot to do with risk management. How do you protect your rights? How do you manage your risk?
What you say is so true, because I've actually got clients that exactly just gone through that. So they were, they're trading as one entity and then it morphs into another, and then we don't stop and think about the consequences of it. So I think it's just so important that we think about these things, not after the fact, but before we enter into a new phase of our business. Marguerite, I wanted to know, do you have any advice for small business owners that can prevent especially legal issues down the line that they should just consider besides what you just shared with us?
So we've developed a checklist for each type of structure that you could possibly get in South Africa that you want to run a business out of. And that's from, if you are going to run it as a sole prop, what are the things that you need to think about? And it's quite extensive because there's so much compliance these days. It's from tax laws to employment laws to your protection of your IP to your privacy, your restraints of trade. How are you operating in terms of have you got employees that need to have certain KPIs in place, and how would you go about disciplining someone in the workplace? So it's quite an extensive list, and I'm happy to provide that to you and to your clients as well, free of charge. So it's an extensive list, and it starts basically with do you have the right structure, and then questions around that. How would you know if you've got the right structure? And this checklist will basically guide you. Your shareholders agreements. Make sure that you have things in place that are relevant and current. Lease agreements, for example. Have somebody look at your lease agreements. When you go into a lease, you're a new business, you don't know if it should be a 1 year, a 2 year, a 5 year lease. Oftentimes they would, have the majority say in this. Landlords would often put lessees in the corner, and you just have to sign. But before you sign those contracts, and that would be the most important advice that I would want to give entrepreneurs, don't just put pen to paper. Read through the terms and conditions of each and every contract. Every supplier should have a contract in place. Service levels agreements. It's all things that would impact your business, and that could minimize or maximize your risk at the end of the day. And if you are not sure about the legal jargon in a contract, have somebody look at it. We would be happy to assist with that. But as a starting point, you should have a checklist in place to say, and it's a regular thing, something that you should go through regularly to make sure that you are staying compliant. Yeah.
Marguerite, thanks for that generous offer. I think there's definitely people that's going to make use of it. And in terms of, I think entrepreneurs sometimes are so busy in running their business, we don't stop and account for where we are. And I think what you said about make sure if you are compliant today, it doesn't mean you're compliant 2 weeks down the line. So it's a constant checking in to make sure that you are still on the right track.
Yes.
Marguerite, I want to thank you for your time. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. Thank you for what you're doing for small businesses. And have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.